Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this one, we are going to complete the lab version controlling with Git in Azure repos. This is the module 1, getting started with the source control. So in this series of videos, we are really working with AZ-400 series of labs. These are really for Azure Devops, and you can be certified as a Devops certified Azure professional. The main you can do AZ-400 in Google, and this is the certification that you will be looking at, designing and implementing Microsoft DevOps solutions. Okay. So let's come back to this one. So this is the second lab. The first lab we have already done, and that lab we looked at how to set up the Azure DevOps, how to go to the DevOps platform, create your own project, stuff like that. And this tutorial specifically we're going to look at Git. Okay, so before we start, a little bit of overview. There are two different type of system that are popular that you use for source code versioning. Okay, the one is Team Foundation version control, and the other one is Git. The major difference between these two: Team Foundation is a centralized. Okay, there is always one copy of the version of the main code. Compared to this one, Git is really a distributed version control system. Okay, Git repositories can live locally, it can live on a remote machine, and a lot of people, they can independently work and develop your code. Okay, and in the industry, most projects that I have worked on, 99% of those projects, they are using Git. So what you see, Git is the default version control provider for the new projects. If you're using Azure DevOps, you will be using Git unless you specify something differently. So in this lab, we are going to establish a local Git repository, and then we're going to sync it with the centralized Git repository in Azure DevOps. Okay, that is very important. We are not going to use the GitHub, although it's now owned by Microsoft. We're going to use the Azure DevOps. And at the end, we will learn about the Git branching and merging, and that's also pretty standard if you're using Git. If you're familiar with it, you're probably not going to learn a whole lot in this lab. And the one interesting aspect of this lab, we are going to try to use the Visual Studio Code as much as possible to manage our code. So we are not going to do it from the command line. And if you're a command line expert, you already know all the commands like Git Status, Git Clone, Git Add, Git Merge, Git Comment, Git Pull, Git Push, Git Rebase, or Git Branch. So those are most of the commands that you would typically use, and probably most of the work that you do can be done using this command that I just mentioned. But in this one, we will not run the code. We will try to use the Visual Studio Code as much as possible and show you how easily you can use Visual Studio Code to manage your development. Okay, so the main objectives in this lab: cloning an existing repository, saving your work with comments, review the history of changes that you have performed, and finally work with branches by using Visual Studio Code, as we mentioned. Typically it should take about 50 minutes, but since I'm explaining a whole bunch of stuff, it may take a little bit longer, but just stay with me. Now in this section, if you're working on a Linux machine or Mac or even your own Windows, you probably don't need to do this. Okay, this is probably a lab specific instruction that you don't need to do. But main thing that they're saying, you need a browser. They are recommending Microsoft Edge, of course, but I'm going to use Chrome. Not even Chrome, I'm going to use Firefox. They are saying, okay, hey, go get the Git for Windows, because it's the Windows machine that this manual was written for. But I'm going to use my Ubuntu machine, so I don't need this. And Visual Studio Code is a cross-platform tool, so I don't need the specific Windows version, but I already have that installed. So let's just demonstrate a few things. So let's just clear it up and just do git. So my git command is available, so I know my git is installed. And if I go here and search for code, Okay, my Visual Studio Code is also I have available. I have already installed, so I don't have to worry about it. And the installation is very simple, and you don't really need my expertise and explanation about how to install them. All right. So the first thing is configure the lab prerequisite. So in this prerequisite, you have already used the Azure Devops demo generator if you have done the first lab. In this one, we're gonna go to the same place and we're gonna create another project name version controlling with Git in Azure repos. Now what I'll do, I actually done some testing, so what I'm gonna delete this project that I have already, version controlling with Git in Azure repos. I'm gonna go to project setting, and I'm going to delete this project completely and then restart this project for all of you. Okay, so paste it over here and then delete. So now it's gone. There we go. So let's get rid of some stuff that I'm not using. Okay, so in here, so we need to go to the Devops demo generator. So let's go to that page, and here again you need to sign in, and over here project name is going to be the version controlling with Git in Azure repos. I'm gonna put that under cloud security and training. And template, just give it a second. Template, I'm going to use the parse unlimited, so that's the template that we are using. We used even in the first lab, so we got that one. All you need to do at this time is create a project, so that should give you a project, and it will have some storage. It will create a default repo for you, and it will have some comments, so it will take just a minute to create. So while this is getting created, let's go back. So all of that is now done. Pretty much all of that we just did, you know, it's done for the task one. So we're pretty much done with the task. Okay, next they're saying next install and configure Git and Visual Studio. So we kind of don't have to do that. A couple things that I would recommend here, they're saying just make sure that you have PowerShell available. So since I'm running Linux, I don't need PowerShell. But if you do need PowerShell, let's get rid of this one and let's reopen my Visual Studio Code one more time. I'm just going to reopen. It's probably reopen to the last history, and I'm going to get rid of all of it in a minute. So what you really need to check, so I'm already in the terminal. Okay, so in this terminal over here, you see this says bash. So in my Ubuntu machine, bash is the default that that you can use. But if you click on this button, you can also see PowerShell PWSH. So if you want, you can also make the PWSH as your window, and see the prompt over here has now changed. So now here, if I run Windows command like dir, it should tell me what do I have under this particular path. Okay, you got it. So if you're running Windows, you will have the PowerShell as your default, and from over here you can also configure your default profile. Okay, so here you can say, okay, use a bash or the PowerShell, whichever you want to be the default. So just go through this and make sure that you have PowerShell available to you, although I don't think the PowerShell is really needed in this particular lab. Now this command, since I'm running Windows, I don't need this one. All you need to do is configure this. Okay, git config global username and git config global user email. Those are required parameters, so please go through it, put your own name and the email address that you use, and configure your git. Okay, so that is required. So because I have already done that, so I'm not going to perform these two commands right now. But if you do it again, it's okay, and I can run this command. I don't have to be always in that terminal within the Visual Studio Code. Since I'm running Windows, I can run it from anywhere I like. Okay, so I can copy this and put it here. No, I'm not gonna run that name. That's not my name. Say cloud security. So that's it. So that's my username, and if I want to update maybe my config, so I can also do this, and I can change my username. email. There you go. So that's it. So once that's it, now you are ready to clone an existing repository. Now here I'm going to give you a heads up. You may get stuck on this one. Okay, so if you look at this, what the most basic way to clone a repository is to run the git clone command. Okay, git clone and then repository URL. But to do that, you have to have some kind of authentication already set up. If you don't have the authentication set up, you may run into some trouble. So what I have done, I have already created a video, a short one, only 10 minutes, and it shows how to use the SSH key authentication to clone Azure Git repos. Doesn't matter whether using Linux, Mac or even Windows, you can do this one. So I'm going to give this link in my video description, and that will show you how to set up SSH authentication so that you can perform the git clone and basically you can authenticate to Azure repos. So remember that one you have to set up. Alright, so in this one we created this project. Now it says the project is successfully provisioned, so now we can navigate to the project. Okay, the main thing that we want to look at the project, we have done that in the last lab as well. So we have under boards, we have work items got created, some things that got completed. We got 2 different repos and 116 comments by 9 authors. So a lot of things are going on. So in here, in this particular lab, we'll be focusing on repos. If you go to the repos, what you see, you have parts unlimited, and here under clone, either you can do it HTTPS or SSH based authentication. Okay, since we are using IDE, we can very easily clone in Visual Studio Code, and I have Visual Studio Code already open. So what I can do, I can just hit clone in Visual Studio and it opens up this application. Hey, choose an application to open the Visual Studio link. I'm gonna so this is good, so I'm gonna click on open link, and now it's telling me, hey, select a repository location. Okay, so I'm gonna go to documents, and I'll just maybe create a location called AZ-400 Git. Okay, that's the location I want to use. Okay, and that's all. Now I can select repository locations, and you see this bar is going on and it says cloning Git repository. So what it's doing, it's trying to go to the Git repository and trying to get whatever we have in there and trying to download that inside that folder. Now let's see what is going on. If it takes too long, so then you know that there is something wrong. You know, you gotta fix some stuff, something is not right. Okay, I think it's not gonna work because the authentication that I configured is no longer available in the new repository that we created. So if you think like this is going on and on and on, hit cancel. Okay, that means it's not working. So another way to prove that it is not working is go back and copy this SSH and copy the URL. Okay, and from here let's go back a couple folders up. Let's go back to our bash shell. Okay, go back to bash shell, cd couple folders up. Okay, and then go to our AZ folder and then do git clone and then put the URL, and I'll tell you why it didn't work. So now it says cloning. Oh, this time it did work. Interesting. So this time it did work because I have my SSH key that is actually stored under my profile. So the reason it worked here, I'll show you. So I have already set up my SSH based authentication. Okay, meaning if I go, let's just go over here, just get rid of everything. I'm just gonna open up a new terminal. So if you see the new terminal, do a ls-lah. You should see a folder called .ssh. Okay, the way you create a SSH key is to run the SSH key gen. So watch the video and you will know that I have already run the command and I have created two files. One is the IDRSA and another is the IDRSA.pub, and this public key is to share with other people, and then we're going to use the public key to authenticate, and then this is the password will be here, the private key it will be used to authenticate. And in Azure, what I have done in here, if I go to my profile, let's see, close this profile, somewhere I have my profile, let's just figure it out. So here is a profile, so here you have this SSH public key. If you look at that one, so the Ubuntu key, this is active, I have already imported in here, so that's the reason that it's working. So but what we wanted to do, we really wanted to do through this particular Visual Studio Code, because that's the purpose. This is great, and but we also want to make sure that this thing is also working. So I'm going to give it another try. So what I'll do, I'll come over here, and maybe from here what you can do, you can always come over here, go to view, and then click on the command palette, and that will give you lots of recently used commands. Here if you type git and then type clone and then just hit enter, okay, now you paste the clone repository, so git, that SSH and all of that. Now I'm gonna hit enter. Okay, now it's doing the same thing. It's going to documents, and what I'll do, I'm going to create another one, AZ-400 v just code. So I'm using code to create this. Let's see if that works. So this time, look, now the source code is working fine. So I'm not sure what was wrong for the first one, but this time we have cloned our Git repository using the Visual Studio Code. We did not run any true command. We just went to the view, type git clone, and provided the URL, and my authentication is already up to date and set up, so it got the code. Okay, so but there was it asked me whether it should open the folder or not, but it went away because I was talking to you guys. So let's just do that one more time. So view, command palette, git clone, and then put that again, and I'm gonna choose that folder and cloning repository, and it's cloning the repository. Now it's just gonna ask whether should you open it. I'm just gonna click yeah, open it. So what it's doing is gonna open the git clone, and let me make sure that it didn't mess up because I just created I just imported it twice. Let me close some of that stuff and actually go to our documents and code. Yeah, I have got two different ones, so I don't want that, so let's just get rid of both of them and let's fix it. Okay, fix it. I'm gonna do that one more time. Hopefully it's gonna give you another practice. So close. Is the Visual Studio Code available anymore? No, just let's open up the Visual Studio Code one more time, and this time let's make sure that in here documents there's nothing in here, so we can use that folder. So again, go to view and then command palette and then git clone and provide the repository, hit enter. Now select the folder code and then select repository location, and it should download the files and create the necessary folder, hit open, and voila. So now I have the parts unlimited folder, and inside that I have all those files. Now if you go back to the folder, this is what you have created, and here are all the files that you can see even from a folder view. If you're a terminal user, you can come back here now, go back to cd2 documents, and in documents cd to AZ-400 code. Yeah, it's a code AZ-400 code, and here we have downloaded. So if I do ls, that's the file. I can do a git status in here. Nobody has done nothing, not a git repository. So this one I probably have to get inside the parts unlimited and check the git status. Okay, so now it's saying on branch master, so that's the only one branch that I have available, but the git is completely set up. And the other way to check the branch would be just run the git branch command, and I typed it wrong, git branch, and you see the branch and got the start, so we are on the master branch. Okay, I'll show you another way to check. So we have opened this project and downloaded everything using the Visual Studio Code, right? So over there down here you see the master right here. So it's telling us, okay, we are in the master branch at the moment. So in this rest of the tutorial, we are gonna use the Visual Studio Code to update our code, to commit our code, to create a branch. Everything we'll try to do it using the Visual Studio Code and not through the command line. Let's go back. Alright, so cloning the repository, again, you may get stuck in this. Just make sure to configure your authentication and you should be good. So once you have that, save your work with comments. Okay, in this section what we'll do, we're gonna step through several scenarios that involve the use of Visual Studio Code to stage and commit changes. Okay, now anytime you're making any changes to your files, Git is intelligent. It can keep track of all the changes in your local repository. Now it's up to you which of the changes you want to commit, and you do that by staging the commit first, and then you commit the changes that you have already staged. Okay, and Git commits consist of the following: the files changed in the commit. So Git keeps the contents of all file changes in your repo in that commit. This keeps it fast and allows intelligent merging. A reference to the parent commit, and a message describing a commit. So you will do most of it. So first let's start learning the commit changes, how to do that using the Visual Studio Code. If you have any Git experience, you probably have done that 100 times using the command line. This is what we're going to do using the Visual Studio Code. So we are looking for a particular file, cartitem.cs, that is under source parts unlimited website models. So go back, source parts unlimited website, and under models, so we are looking for cartitem.cs. This is the file, right? And this one, right above the key, we're gonna add this particular line, my first change. So right, this is the key, so I'm gonna hit enter, and then I am going to paste. So this is my first change. Okay, so come back. It doesn't really matter what the comment, since the goal is just to make a change. So you can put anything you like. Now you press the change, so Control S. Okay, so look what happened. I just did. You see this thing? It's got one. It's a source control. It says one pending changes. So Git figured out, hey, you did change. You made something to one file. It's not exactly the same as before. What do you want to do? Okay, then source control tab to verify Git recognized latest change. So this is what this line is saying. Make sure to go there and make sure that Git now knows here's the cart item part. So this is the change that you have made, and look, in the previous file you didn't have anything. Now this is the plus sign. That means you have added this particular code to this particular file. And with the source control tab selected, the top pane in the text box, type my commit as the commit message and press Control Enter to commit it locally. So pretty much you can type whatever you like in here and Control Enter to commit. So for the guys who are command line experts, so here's the Git status. So it should tell me this is the file that's been modified, and that is what Git is tracking. And now what I'm gonna do, add this comment, my comment, okay, and then hit Control Enter, and you see the changes is now 0 because I have just committed that one. So think about what happened. Typically in the Git you will send it to a staging and then you comment, but with Visual Studio Code we kind of skip the staging middle step and we just commit it directly. So again, for the command line guys, if we come back over here, now do Git Status, again there is nothing there. Okay, everything is good. There's one comment, nothing, no changes are pending. Everything is, walking through is clean. But I typically like to go through the stage, the middle stage. Okay, but now you know at least how to directly commit your code in Visual Studio Code. Now if you are doing it for the first time, you may be prompted whether you would like to automatically stage your changes and commit them directly, and you just say always. Okay, so that will, you don't have to go through the staging, which I don't always like, but the lab says so you can do that. And the other thing, in the left lower corner of the Visual Studio Code to the right of the master level, note the Synchronize changes icon of a circle with 2 vertical arrows pointing in opposite direction and the number 1 next to the arrow pointing up. So if you come back over here, you see this master branch and then the sync arrow. I hope you can see at the very bottom of the screen. Let me just resize this a little bit just to completely make sure that you are seeing it. So the master, this sync, and then you have 1 going up and 0 coming down. That means locally there is one change that is not being synced with your remote repository. So let's see what you want to do. Click the icon, and if prompted whether to proceed, click OK to push and pull comments and to and from origin master. So all you do need to do is now hit this button. Okay, so the action will push and pull the commits to and from the origin. Say OK. So now it's going to take your local changes and it will push it back to the Azure repo that we have created in the beginning of this exercise. Now you see both of them now are 0, no problem. So that's about it. We have pretty much completed this task, and next is the review comment. So where do you want to review the comment? To do this, you can go to the web browser. We go to the repos and look at the comments, and the comment that we have just done, it should show up at the very top of our list. So let's just come back over here and let's close this one, come back, navigate back to the project. I don't need this one, and here go back to repos and comments. So that's what we want to do. So look at that, my comment. Okay, now don't pay too much attention to the status at the moment. Okay, this is the comment that we have done and it just showed up, and if you see, this is plus my first change. Isn't that beautiful? So we have not really done anything using the command line. Everything we are doing with the Visual Studio Code, and it's working beautifully. Okay, let's go back to our lab. Okay, so then for the next exercise, we are going to use the staging, which I said that I like personally a lot. I like to go through the stage, and you know, when I do my code bit by bit, I would stage something, and if you don't like something that, you know, some files that I don't want to stage, I would not put it on stage and then commit only things that I really like, and from stage I would commit them to the whatever master branch or wherever I'm working at. Now here we're going to switch back to the Visual Studio Code, and we're going to update the cart item class by changing the first comment to my second change. Okay, so let's just go back to Visual Studio Code, and what I'll do, I'm just going to get rid of that and give and change this one to my second change. And notice that here there's nothing in here, no changes. If as soon as I save, Git now recognize that one. See, now it's 1, and now the change is in here. Okay, so we have done that. In Visual Studio Code, switch back to the Explorer tab, navigate to another file which is the category.cs. So let's just go, so let's just come back to here, and category.cs, this is the file. And here right above the public int category ID, add the my third change. So let's just copy this, and the category ID is here, so let's hit enter, and right over here let's put our third change, and I haven't saved it yet. So notice what happens. It's 1. As soon as I save, this becomes 2, right? So Git is so quick, and it just knows that you are doing something with this file. Okay, so in Visual Studio, switch back to the source control, hover with the mouse pointer to cart item.cs entry and click the plus sign on the right side of the entry. So what this time is asking us to do, last time we did all of our work from the very top over here, but this time we're gonna click on this plus sign, okay? And what that did, the cart item just went back to the stage. Do you see that? Now I can unstage this one. If I click minus, it will be unstaged again. Okay, so this is the button that I'm clicking to stage this particular change, but we're not going to stage the category.cs just yet. Okay, with the source control with the circuit, at the top of the text box, type edit comments as the comment. So what this lab is saying, okay, we have made two changes, but I'm only gonna stage one of them, and then again put some comment about this particular change, and then control enter. Now you see one change is gone. This change that was staged is now committed. This we have not done anything to it yet, okay, but the other change is now committed. The third change is not yet committed. So come back. At the top of the control tab, click on the ellipsis and the drop down menu, select commit, and then the cascading menu, select commit stage. So we kind of already did that. So what we could have done, say for example, added this one to stage, okay, and then in here, over here from the source control, we can click, and we could have said, okay, commit and commit staged. Okay, we kind of have already done that using our control alt enter or control enter, but this is the other way to do it. So I'm going to put it back to unstage again. Okay, all right, so next what we want to do, we want to synchronize. So again, synchronize is pretty simple. We come back down here, and this would be the synchronize button. So again, we're going to push one code upstream to our remote repository. So hit that again, hit OK. So now you see this is circle is going on, and now it's all 0. That means now syncing up process is now done. So what that means, if I go back to my comments, I should see another comment, but it should have the second change, but not the third one. So let's check out. If I click that one, so edit comments, okay, so if I go to that one, see, this is the only file that got changed. So it says one change file. It's the other file, it did not change. It's the only cart item. And what is the change? The plus in green means this is the new line, and the red minus means that used to be previously the content of this line. Now it's different, and this is the new one. So I know that also worked. So that's working beautifully. So so review history is pretty much what probably we just did. In this exercise, we will use the Azure Devops portal to review history of comments. Now Git uses the parent reference information stored in each commit to manage a full history of your development. You can easily review this commit history to find out when file changes were made and determine differences between versions of your code using the terminal or from one of the many available Visual Studio Code extensions. Okay, you can also review the changes using the Azure Devops portal. This is what we have been doing. Now branches we're going to look at in a minute. Git use the branches and merges feature works through pull request, so the commit history of your development doesn't necessarily from a straight chronological line. that means you can make some changes, okay, and then maybe you have not committed the changes for next 2 weeks, and somebody else, he started working at a later point and may have committed something even before you. That's possible. So first task in this section, let's compare some files. Okay, so we can go back in the in the Visual Studio, go back to the source control, and category.cs, I can click on that one. So let's go back to source control, and let's just get rid of this one more time, and category.cs is the file that I have created. I just clicked on it. This is represent non-stage version of the file. Okay, a comparison view is open to enable you easily locate the changes you have made. Okay, so this I have opened from the file, but what I want to open this same file from this source control view. So if I go to the source control view, click on this, and now look at. So now it has opened this as two separate files, one with distinctly telling what is the change. So that is very good feature. I really like this one. So it clearly tells me where I have made my changes. Okay, now switch to the web browser window displaying the commits plan and Azure Devops portal to review the source branches and merges. This provides a conventional way to visualize when and how the changes were made. So again, so you can go back in here, go back to comments, and if you look at comments, it's just telling you what is going on. It looks like everything is going on in a straight line, but here we had some branches, some merging, lots of things going on. Okay, so it's got a complete visual representation of things. So let's come back over here. So now it's telling you scroll down to the merge PR27 entry and just hover the mouse pointer over it to reveal the ellipsis symbol to the right, and you can even click on the browse files to see what is going on. So over here, that the trajectory that we're looking at, we can come down to March 27. So this is the one. So you can click on that one. Okay, it clearly is going to tell you that there are two change files, and it's also going to tell you, okay, what happened here. The previous value was 9.9%. in the new file the value has changed to 67.4. and in this one we just added two new lines, Bellevue comment and second comment. Okay, so that's how you review the history. So let's go back. So we have now completed this section as well, the section 3, exercise 3. Now the last section is really to work with branches. Now you really don't want to always work from the master branch. It's very typical that you create a feature branch, you work on it, and then you merge your code back to the master branch when you're completely satisfied and you have done all of your testing. So from here, if you are in a Git, the command is just git branch and whatever branch name, but we are not using command line, so we're going to go back. We're going to use our Visual Studio Code to create our branches. Now here, committing changes to branch will not affect other branches, and that is another benefit. And you can share branches with others without having to merge the changes into the main project. Okay, so you can independently build your own feature on the top of the main branch. You can also create new branch to isolate changes for a feature or a bug fix from your master branch and other work. Since the branches are lightweight, switching between the branches is quickly and easy. Git does not create multiple copies of your source when working with branches, but rather uses the history information stored in commits to recreate the files on a branch when you start working on it. So let's just review what it is. So to create a new branch in your local repository using Visual Studio Code, you would go back to the source control tab. You're gonna create the master, and then you're gonna create a new branch. From then branch name, you just put the dev. You can put anything. We're gonna work with dev. So what it's telling you, let's go back. So here you see the master. You're just gonna click on it, and here create new branch, and you want to use the create new branch from, and let's see, make sure that's the one they want. Yes, select new branch from, and in the branch name you just type dev. So one more time, new branch from, and branch name is dev. Hit enter, and which branch do you wanna use is the master branch. So let me just make sure that's the one that you want. Select the master as your reference branch. Okay, so did we just create? No, we have not created. So one more time, create a new branch from dev, hit enter, and master branch is the branch from which. So now you see, if you come over here, as soon as you created, you are now in the development branch. The other way to check is to go back over here and just do git branch, and now you see the star and the green is on the development branch, not on the master branch, and this development branch is created from the master branch. Alright, so we have done the task 1. So we have created a new branch. Now we can start working with the branch that we have created. So what we are going to do, we are going to go and publish changes. Okay, so what is telling me, so I still have one change most likely. Okay, so that change is not yet committed. So what we can do, we can synchronize. Let's see if that's what they're asking us to do. Click the publish changes icon. So over here, so this is the publish unlimited. So this is the button I wanna click on. So this time I wanna click on this, but this is still in category. Let's see if that, let me make sure that if I need to commit that one first. Okay, let's read that one more time. Git keeps track when you check out a branch, your file matches the most recent commit in the branch. Branches let you work with multiple versions of the source code. Okay, so let's just follow now. The Visual Studio Code, source control, and click on publish changes icon directly into the right of the dev. Okay, so let's just do that then. So hit, and it's nothing had happened, and I was not expecting anything to happen because there's nothing to commit, but we did that. So what happened really, so the dev branch in our remote repository, they only had one branch. They didn't know, okay, locally now this guy has 2 branches. So now what should happen over here, I should see 2 different branches. Okay, so let's just come back over here, just verify branches, and here's the dev branch. So that's just got created. So this branch was not before. Okay, so what we just did, we just told our remote repository, hey, we created a new branch, and that's all. So let's come back over here, switch to the web browser, go to the Devops portal and select branches, which we just did, and we just verified that the dev branch is included in the list of mine branches under mine. Okay, hover the mouse pointer to dev branch, tend to reveal the ellipsis symbol, and what they're asking, hey, just delete this branch, and then prompt it for confirmation and delete. So okay, so now from here, let's see what we can do. We want to delete this branch. We don't like this branch. Okay, so now we can delete this branch. Just click on the ellipsis, hit on the delete button, and click on delete. So that's deleted that branch over here. But now the remote doesn't have this development branch, but locally we still do. Okay, so if you then come back over here, our development branch is still here, right? So what do we do? Okay, so next what we want to do, so we have done this, switch back to Visual Studio Code. In the source control, in the lower left control of the Visual Studio Code, click the dev entry. This will display an existing branch in the upper portion of the Visual Studio Code. Verify that now there are 2 dev branches listed. So if you click on that one, so there is dev, this is the local, and origin dev, there is the remote, but the remote we just deleted, but this Visual Studio Code still does not know that it's got deleted, right? So what do we need to do now? In the list of the branches, select the master branch and check it out. So what we will do, again, click on that one. Now just select the master branch, and that checks out the master branch. Press Ctrl+Shift+P to open the command palette, okay, or you can just go to view, and just the first one is command palette, you open it. And here what we want to do, we want to do git delete and then git delete branch. Okay, so here view, command palette, and then type git delete, and git delete branch is what we want to use. So again, one more time, command palette, git delete branch, and now it's asking, okay, which branch do you want to delete? And here select the dev entry in the list of branches to delete. Okay, that's gone again. So Ctrl+Shift+P, delete branch, and I just selected the dev branch. So it's now, it should have deleted the dev branch that we created locally. So now you see the local branch is now gone, but you see that origin, that means the remote branch, is still there. So if I go back over here to branches, this branch is still there. Oh, actually this branch got deleted, that we deleted previously, but Git still does not know that this branch we have already deleted, even in our remote. So to remove that one, we gotta run a prune command. So let's go back and verify. Okay, verify the local dev branch and no longer appears. We have just done that. So this time we are gonna run the Git Fetch Prune, and that should take care of our problem. So Ctrl+Shift+P and Git Fetch Prune. So this command actually goes to the remote and look for what we have deleted remotely, and then sync our local Git repo as well. So now if I click on that one, hit enter. Now if I click here, and now you see the origin dev, the branch was here, it's now gone. So now you are left with the master and the origin master, and that's how we like it. Alright, so let's see if there's anything else. In the lower left corner, click the master entry again, verify the origin dev branch no longer appears in the list. So we have done that. So few things we have not done in this lab, that we didn't really create any code on the branch that we created, and didn't really merge any code to the master branch. So I would recommend that do some more work with this, be comfortable with Visual Studio Code and see how it works, but also learn the basic Git commands and learn how to do it from the command line perspective as well. And if you have a different ID that you're using, the features may be a little bit different, but mostly it should be pretty similar how the Visual Code works. But you should be using Visual Studio Code, by the way. That's my favorite ID these days. I just love it. Anyway, if you like the video, please give me a like, please subscribe, please leave your valuable comments, and if you're learning Git, hope that you learned something. Good luck and thanks for watching the video. Have a great day.